Hey everybody, today is April 5th and today we're going to look at Bitcoin's price. And last week I talked about how I wanted Bitcoin to hold above $56,000 and then $58,000 and make a clean break above 60,000. Unfortunately, over the weekend we weren't able to hold above 60,000. We just barely peeked our head above the price, but based on the low volume over the weekend, we just weren't able to hold above. So the question is, are we going to finally make a clean break above 60,000 and more importantly hold above 60,000, a price that we've been trying to break and hold above for the last few months, right? Or are we going to continue to move sideways and possibly go down more? And before we answer this question and do more analysis, please read the disclaimer and you can pause this video as you read it. Okay, so overall Bitcoin, I'm still optimistic and bullish as long as we maintain positive price structure, right? Higher highs and higher lows above this moving average, the 50 simple day moving average. Nice bounce 2 times over the last few months, and we're still holding strongly above, right? And everything's looking pretty good. We're just having trouble breaking and holding above 60,000. Let's zoom into this chart a little bit and we'll see, right? So last Friday, or last video, or sorry, last Wednesday, last video, I talked about, we were right here around 59,000. I talked about how I want to see us hold above 56, 57, 58, and then 60,000, right? Of course, we had strong resistance around 60,000, which is something we've tried to poke our head over 2 or 3 times, but we just weren't able to hold the price above this level. So where are we right now? Over the weekend, we saw the price come down, and then this morning, Michael Saylor and his company MicroStrategy, they announced they bought more Bitcoin, which gave this nice pump, but what we need is more follow through. We want to see a clean break above 60,000. That's the next big psychological number, right? That level, and then maybe come down, retest it, and push up higher. So that's what I'm looking for within the next week. Talking about MicroStrategy, let's get into the news, right? MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, bought $15 million more of Bitcoin, right? So they now hold 91,579 Bitcoin, which I believe is the biggest holding on a balance sheet for a publicly traded company, right? They paid an average of $59,339 per coin, including fees and expenses, and now they have a total of 91,579 Bitcoin. So yes, they're basically right now leading the pack in terms of the most Bitcoin held on a balance sheet for a publicly traded company. They actually have more than Tesla, which famously bought Bitcoin 2 months ago. And of course, our favorite mining stocks, Marathon and Riot, are on the list as well as Square, which is Jack Dorsey's company. And Jack Dorsey has been doing a lot to promote Bitcoin, which is awesome on Square and Cash App. But so we're starting to see, so this is just a few companies that have Bitcoin, and I'm optimistic in terms of I do expect to see more publicly traded companies announce that they're going to hold Bitcoin, especially as the price goes up, right? Especially right now, like the Biden administration, they're thinking about doing more stimulus, more trillion-dollar plans, not only to help the economy out, but to rebuild our infrastructure, right? That's going to cost trillions of dollars. They're going to try to raise corporate taxes, and they haven't announced yet, but they're probably going to announce capital gains taxes or more taxes on individual taxes in the future. We'll talk about that as it comes out, but for now, they're thinking about raising corporate tax rates to help cover the cost of the next infrastructure plan, which is going to be trillions of dollars, at least $3 trillion, right? So, but a good amount of that money is still going to be printed to pay off. So as we see that value of our dollar becoming destroyed over time, as it has been over the last couple of decades, and we can see right now that the dollar is starting to pull back a little bit, and that's giving more juice to Bitcoin, right? A big reason, in my opinion, why we had a big pump up today, besides MicroStrategy announcing. But yes, in the future, if there is more money printed to support more of those government programs, I do expect people to not want to hold dollars anymore. They want to get into assets, right, that are going up in value. So stocks, real estate, and of course cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrencies you can't print anymore. There only will be 21 million Bitcoins ever mined, and so unlike the government, you can't print more Bitcoin, right? There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So I think people they want to put their money in an asset that there is a supply cap, right? So just looking at let's look at the weekly chart, right? The weekly chart still looking very bullish. We're a bit of a triangle pattern right here, right? Ascending triangle, break out through. See if we can break through. But first, of course, we need to break through 60,000 first. before we can even consider that, right? But overall, the price action is looking very bullish, and I'm very optimistic. MACD, last week we talked about how we were starting to see this thing crossing over to the green. Unfortunately, over the weekend, low volume, price came down a little bit. This didn't become a validated bullish cross, right? Because we crossed back under again with a bit of printing red candles. So that means that there's not enough buying momentum coming in. We want to see this push up higher, right? We want to see this become green and push up higher, and that's going to help us follow through. Same thing with RSI, right? We've been talking about for several weeks now how we're in a downtrend. We need to break above. We need to get that buying momentum back up again and push the price up higher, right? Until then, I expect us really just to go sideways. But as long as we hold above the 50-day simple moving average, right? And this has been a very strong support level over here and over here. I know I keep saying that, but we have to reiterate it once in a while, like, to really get that point across, right? As long as we hold above, I'm expecting us to bounce higher. But this is not necessarily a bad thing, because when Bitcoin goes sideways, it tends to kind of like, it's like coiling like a spring, right? It's like creating energy. Like over here, when it goes sideways, and then it creates energy, so that when we have a huge breakout move like we did from October all the way to now, right? That coiling energy gives us enough momentum to push up higher. So Bitcoin moving sideways, consolidating, is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something to keep in mind, right? Like, I don't want to just sit here and be like, oh, this thing will just go up straight up, right? But just because it goes sideways, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go straight down again, right? Now, for granted, let's talk about what could be a risk factor, right? Pi cycle top. We talked about this many times. I have a video dedicated to this. We're about to cross soon, within this week, right? Very soon, very soon. Hopefully, this thing will cross within the next week or two, and we can finally see and put behind us whether this thing's going to crash the market or not. Personally, I don't think it's going to crash the market, because I feel like when this thing crossed in the past, Bitcoin was going parabolic, but we've been consolidating. We've been consolidating for like the last 2-3 months, right? Just going pretty much sideways, moving slowly. So, and there's not much like FOMO in terms of sentiment. So I think this will end up being a false positive. If we do have a pullback, I think that the 50 will act as strong support, right? Strong support when we push up higher. So I'm not too worried about the Pi cycle top, but it is something to look at and think about. I'll definitely update you when it does cross, probably within the next week or two, and hopefully it crosses soon, and we can just put this whole thing behind us and look at the price action going forward as it continues its journey above 100,000. Okay, so let's look at GBTC, right? GBTC still at a negative premium. We talked about this again a lot of times. This is a record amount of negative premium. This means that the price of Bitcoin itself is actually more expensive than this trust that tracks it. So if you're holding Bitcoin, or if you're holding GBTC, you're actually losing more money than Bitcoin is going down when Bitcoin goes down. But if you are bullish on Bitcoin, buying GBTC now could actually be a good thing, because when Bitcoin goes up again and hits record highs, that's going to bring GBTC up again. And GBTC is usually trading at a positive premium. So when the premium does flip positive, you're going to get much more returns than Bitcoin would, much more returns than just holding Bitcoin itself, right? Another interesting article is Grayscale says it's trying to convert GBTC from a trust into an ETF. And in ETFs, it's very interesting, because the US hasn't approved a Bitcoin ETF yet, which is sort of ridiculous if you think about how popular Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are. But the SEC, they've historically been very reluctant to approve ETFs for cryptocurrencies, because they say it's too risky, too unstable. But I think at this point, we're starting to see more people, especially more institutions, come in and buy Bitcoin, put it on their balance sheets for some publicly traded companies. We're starting to see more demand from high net worth individuals who do private banking or family offices with these big banks, and then you're starting to see more demand from them. And so I think that over time, they're going to eventually approve an ETF, and I think that's going to be very awesome and, of course, very groundbreaking for the US. In other news, cryptocurrency market caps hits 2 trillion total. We saw Bitcoin hit 1 trillion for the first time a couple weeks ago. So now that the whole market cap has hit 2 trillion, another milestone landmark, in hopefully more landmarks to come for the rest of the year. Last article of today, ARK Invest and JP Morgan expect Bitcoin price to hit $130,000 to even up to $500,000. So why $500,000, right? So ARK says that if Bitcoin were to match gold's market capitalization or supply capitalization of around 10 trillion, that would make each Bitcoin worth $500,000 or just under $500,000. So very interesting. I remember when Bitcoin surpassed the price of gold a couple years ago, and that was like big news, right? So I'm not surprised if Bitcoin is able to surpass the market cap or the supply capitalization of gold in the near future. And that, of course, would be another milestone and many milestones that's already happened with Bitcoin over the last several months, and hopefully more to come within the next few months as well. So that's it for the Bitcoin price today. As long as we continue to make higher lows, higher highs, stay above the 50-day simple moving average, I remain bullish, optimistic that Bitcoin will continue higher. What I do want to see, of course, to summarize, is I want to see us finally make a clean break above 60,000, right? I want to see us make a clean break above 60,000, maybe pull back to test, and then push up higher to this next Fibonacci level, right? Usually when Bitcoin consolidates like it has over the last few weeks, it tends to create a lot of energy, and then it creates a lot of energy which coils like a spring, and then it just pushes higher. So I want to see us push up higher, clean break, and of course, yes, with the Pi cycle top coming soon, I'll definitely update you. But personally, I think this will end up being either a false positive or a short pullback, right? But I don't think the market's going to crash like it has in the past, right? Because remember, this thing was created in 2019 after these things have crossed. So it's created in hindsight. So we don't know if this thing can actually predict a market crash. But again, I will update you with a video when this thing does cross, and we'll see. And hopefully, we'll see if the market does crash, and hopefully, if the market doesn't crash, we can put this all behind us and just continue focusing on the price. But yes, very bullish on Bitcoin, and there's just always more and more good news, in my opinion, coming in the near future. So that's it for Bitcoin's price today. If you found this video useful, helpful, please like this video, leave a comment below, and of course subscribe for updates. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate all your support. Thank you.